Joining us now, Pete Snyder. You know Pete Snyder. He ran for lieutenant governor as a Republican in 2013, finished second at the convention to E.W. Jackson, coming from virtually nowhere to almost get that nomination. He's also the chairman of the Disruptor Fund. Pete, good to have you with us.
Johnny, thanks for having me. Great to be back.
I tell you, it's always good to have you on, Pete. And I wanted to get your analysis of the Maxters investigation right now. Breaking on CNN yesterday, Terry McAuliffe being investigated by the FBI for a laundry list of things. His relationship with the Clinton Foundation, his relationship with the Chinese national businessman that apparently gave $120,000 to his campaign, that they're trying to figure out where exactly that money came. But look, Pete, here's the bottom line. You know, when you look at what leaked, it doesn't look like there's any big smoking gun there. But on the other side of the coin is when you're being investigated for the FBI for 12 months, that's not a good thing, right?
Look, John, it's not a good thing at all. But, you know, before we jump to any conclusions, it's got to say, and I think you probably feel the same way as a Virginian, I hope and pray that our governor didn't do anything illegal.
Yeah, me too.
You know, that's just not something the Commonwealth needs to be dragged through.
Right.
I'm very optimistic that Governor McDonald will be absolutely exonerated by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
In a couple weeks. But I certainly hope that Governor McAuliffe didn't do anything untoward or illegal during his campaign, and that we'll all be spared just, you know, all the dirty laundry that comes out in investigations like that.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. But look, I mean, there's been enough things that McAuliffe has done that are shady or that might cast shade on something. And, you know, nothing's illegal, but, you know, from selling White House bedrooms time to other things, I mean, they were just eyebrow raisers. But FBI investigations are never good. You know, the Justice Department, as you know, Pete, has unlimited resources. And if they want to dig and find something, they're going to find it. And so this isn't a good thing. But he says they say they're cooperating. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, I like Terry McAuliffe. I hope he didn't do anything illegal. And I hope that he'll be exonerated. You know, maybe it's not a good thing politically for Republicans. There's a lot of people that want to do this or that, but I think you're exactly right. You got to look at the bigger picture here. And the last thing Virginia needs is another tarnished governor that is under investigation and could end up with prosecutorial measures. I just don't think that's a good thing for Virginians.
No, it's not at all. And as an American, you know, the governor has should be presumed innocent. And
right.
Look, you know, during the 2013 campaign, I was the only guy with real business experience running on either side. And, you know, I sparred with Terry a good amount when I was helping Ken Cuccinelli and also in my own campaign. And the more I learned about some of Terry McAuliffe's quote-unquote business activities, especially his overseas stuff, the more concerned and troubled I became that this guy could actually be governor. So there certainly was a lot there. Ryan Nobles, who used to be at NBC in Richmond, really led the charge on that green tech investigation earlier, and now Ryan's at CNN, and CNN is the folks who actually broke the story of this FBI investigation. It was really interesting yesterday, John, and you probably saw this as well. There were kind of eye rolls coming from the national media. Folks who have known Terry McAuliffe for quite a period of time know that he tends to be, to say it nicely, a fairly transactional guy. Everyone was, you know, I think eye rolling in the media, saying, "Oh, this is no surprise whatsoever." But John, what is a surprise is that this is a very partisan. I mean, I think in the past 50 years, there has not been a more partisan Democrat Department of Justice than the one that we have today under the Obama administration. So it's just very curious, and it was surprising to me that this very partisan Obama Department of Justice would be looking into our governor.
Well, yes, I think that of everything you said, Pete, that's the one that I believe you really hit a bullseye on, because it is a partisan Justice Department, and the very fact that they are looking in to Governor McAuliffe and have been, they said, for 12 months, does cast aspersions on the fact that there might be something here, because normally this is not the way the Obama Justice Department behaves against their own. I mean, we just haven't seen this. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, right?
Well, the question there, John, is do they consider Terry McAuliffe their own? My guess is they don't. 2008 campaign, Terry McAuliffe led the charge for saying, hey, look, we're going to try to seal this thing with superdelegates at the convention that they had then in Denver in 2008. So, there is not a lot of love lost between the Obamas and the Clintons, and between this, email server investigation that's going on in the Obama Department of Justice, and now, our governor, who was the king henchman or financier of all of the Clinton campaigns, so they're now looking into him. Something's going on here between the Clintons and the Obamas, and I think that's a large driver of what we're seeing.
Interesting, Pete. Let's get to feel the burn. Last night, a couple of days ago, well, back in January, I predicted he was going to take Clinton to Philadelphia. Once again, I'm right. But a couple of days ago, unnoticed by most of the mainstream media, Jane Sanders, who was taking a prominent role in Bernie's campaign, and also, by the way, I had an opportunity to spend time with her in Iowa, said, well, the FBI should really hasten its investigation of the Clinton email scandal. This didn't get reported by anybody, but when I saw that, I said to myself, they're going to stay in this thing to Philadelphia, hoping that if the scandal blows up, Pete, he's going to be the nominee if that happens. What do you think?
John, I'm amazed. The one thing that I'm really shocked about this morning is you used to have zero political gut. I mean, you would get behind the wackiest things, whether it's tax increases across Virginia or all sorts of stupid things going on. Actually have your radar on these days. I mean, a year ago you predicted the rise of Donald Trump, and you chewed my ear off for ages, telling me that this is going to happen, and sure enough, it did. And you were right with Bernie Sanders. I have no doubt whatsoever that he's going all this way through in Philadelphia, and I think that Hillary Clinton is absolutely the nominee is not true. I think Bernie Sanders has a shot. This is a Democratic Party that nearly half of the party, two times, in 2008 and 2016, are rejecting Hillary Clinton, and absolutely that has 100% name ID with Democrats. They're rejecting her almost twice. So I think, if anything else, a shoe another drops out of the Department of Justice, or anything goes on with the investigation of our governor that's traced to the Clinton Foundation or Hillary's campaign, she's in a world of hurt, and Bernie Sanders may just be our nominee. Imagine that. Trump versus Sanders for president of the United States.
See, you're the first who is agreeing with me now that Sanders has a shot, and I appreciate that. And
my stock just plummeted, John.
I know, and nobody ever agrees with me on this stuff, but you're right. He does have a shot. And for all the things that you just said, Pete, you're so right on with this, because they have rejected it 2 times. And, you're known as a marketing genius in a lot of aspects in the companies that you were able to build and run. And the way I look at this is I look at these public survey numbers coming out, and Clinton is a known brand that everybody knows exactly what you got. And Trump is still, to some people, mysterious. They don't know him. Maybe they don't like him. But I would think from a marketing standpoint, Trump has got all the potential for growth in voters. I don't think Clinton has any. I think either you're for her now or you're not. Am I right?
I agree with part of that statement. I don't think there's a lot of room for Clinton to grow. I think for Trump, he has nearly 100% name ID. Now, it's not the same as Clinton's in a political context, but tens of millions of Americans for years have been reading Donald Trump's books, seeing him jet set around the world with models, and watching him fire people on television. So he's somewhat of a known quantity. I actually believe that Donald Trump is going to do a whole lot better in African American communities, namely with African American males, than Mitt Romney did. Mm-hmm. And also, I think he has an opportunity, despite all of the kind of crazy things that have been said or media coverage of, some of the things that he's said about Latinos. I think with Latino men, he has a terrific opportunity to pick off a handful of points more than Mitt Romney did. You know, Mitt Romney struggled horribly with minority votes. But, you know, a lot of folks, millions and millions and millions of Americans have known Donald Trump in one way, shape, or form. They either like him or they think he's a blowhard. But, you know, I think he has a much better opportunity to win Democratic voters than Mitt Romney did.
Pete, I want to get to the Republican Party of Virginia, fractured. We had a bunch of battles going on for state central. That's all settled now. I believe that a deal was made in 2016 on state central that if you have a presidential primary, which I was in favor of, that you would have a convention in 2017 to nominate candidates. I think if you make a deal, you stick with a deal. What say you?
John, it was very clear that they had there was a deal last year for primary and convention. I imagine the state central will stick with that. You know, but who knows? There's been very furious battles going across the Commonwealth over the past couple of weeks and months. I've largely stayed out of all of those things, and you know, state central is a living, breathing organism that changes, just like conventions change. John, you know, the convention that you walk into at 9 a.m. might not be the one that you're walking out of at 9 o'clock at night. The same thing with state central. So these things can change. And, you know, and really it's the bodies that are there. So, sure, you know, there was a state central that agreed to certain things, but if, you know, a third of that body isn't there anymore, things change.
Yes, I just got a text here from Albert in Northern Virginia. Says, Pete's great. This is breaking. Terry McAuliffe's all mixed up in a disturbing web of Chinese investments, campaign contributions, and influence peddling. So there's one of your fans there, Pete. Now, look, I'm going to be saying this every day. The Republican Party of Virginia, Pete, is so fractured. There's so many fights going on. I think the first prescription to healing for November is they got to stick by the deal they made, because if they don't, all the divisions, open wounds start up again. It's like pouring salt in them. Hopefully they're going to stick by that. I got 2.5 minutes. There's 3 candidates for governor right now. Corey Stewart, chairman of the Trump campaign in Virginia, the early money runaway favorite, every establishment candidate's dream, Ed Gillespie, and Rob Whitman, Congressman, 1st District. Is Pete Snyder going to get in this race?
John, that's not something that I'm focused on right now. I know all 3 candidates. They're all good guys. You know, I think the operative question here, John, is where's the country and where's the Commonwealth of Virginia right now? I mean, I'm just absolutely amazed forgive me, I am not amazed, but it is incredible to watch what's happening on the Democratic Party and in our own Republican Party of people that are just sick and tired of the same old. They're sick and tired of transactional politics. They're sick and tired of just people climbing the political ladder that don't have their interests at heart. It's only selfish interests. And they want change. You know, that's something in 2013. You know, I was one of the few outsiders in the race, and as you kindly said before, I came from nowhere, and you know, we made an impact. So did another. I got beat by another outsider, who, by the way, your wife, I understand, Ann, mopped up the field in your delegates race last week. Is that right, John?
Yes, actually, my wife and the Fräulein wanted me to tell you today. She had a message to you. She said, tell Pete I did something he couldn't do. I annihilated E.W. Jackson in a convention. So he says the next time Pete runs, have her call me and I'll give him some advice.
The Fräulein would mop the floor with me as well. So
she said she mopped the floor with
in front of that locomotive at all. God bless.
She mopped the floor with E.W. Jackson. She's very proud of that, by the way. She said she trounced him.
Congratulations to both of you. I firmly believe, I mean, you guys were focused on really the right thing, which is 2016, and how do we make sure that we elect Donald Trump as our next president and we have a Republican administration moving forward. That's the most important thing that we can do. So all the yammering and and campaigning and garbage looking beyond that, I think is wasted time. There's a lot of time on the clock. We need to focus on what matters for Virginia right now and for our country, and that's for electing a Republican president.
Speaking of time, Pete, we're out of time. More information, go to disruptorfund.com. If Pete Snyder gets in the race for governor, he's going to be the nominee. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network.